of prospects too, if it really comes down to midseason, they're like, all we need is another arm, that they're going to go out and trade for that arm. I feel like they'll be able to put something together this year. I do think they'll need to get that extra arm, but I also feel like they're showing the willingness to do it, and they're going
Yeah,
to
they're
keep a
seeming to
pretty
make
strong
moves
core
this
together.
year. I mean, they're definitely pushing all in. It seems like right now, with the signing of Alex Bregman in the offseason, promoting Christian Campbell from day one, and all the other things that they're doing right now. It just seems like they are absolutely pushing in their chips and trying to make this the year. So it would not surprise me at all if they made a big trade for some pitcher closer to the deadline to put them over the top. Speaking of the Red Sox, might as well just dive into their game today against the Rangers. The Red Sox in a 5-2 victory over Texas. Wilyer Abreu, my guy, 2 home runs. And I have to give a shout out to JT, our own JT, originally from Par's List, the founder of the O's and Ones and No Hope. We had him on a couple of, several weeks ago talking prospects a little bit, and he'll be back on with me this weekend at some point to talk some prospects and that kind of thing. But he was singing Wilyer Abreu's praises the last few years. And one of the only prospect analysts that I saw talking about Wilyer Abreu during his time in the minor leagues. And so I couldn't be happier for JT that Wilyer just came out with a bang this year with 2 home runs in that 5-2 victory. What do you guys think about Wilyer's performance? And have you been a Wilyer believer in this time in the last couple of years now? Bram, what do you think?
Or I can lead up. Yeah, I know that Duran got a lot of the Duran gets a lot of love, and you've got Roman Anthony who gets a lot of love. So there's a lot of talk about maybe Abreu's that like odd guy out, or who may not be able to make it stand. And it's funny you were saying about Adley. I feel like today was that kind of performance for Wilyer, where I feel like he was going out there with that motivation of, well, listen, if you think I'm going to be the odd man out when Roman Anthony comes up, think again that I've got my place in this lineup.
Yeah.
And I think I'm not gonna say I'm a believer outside of the fact that I agree with JT's been on him, and I know that JT's a great source of information for all this stuff. But I've been nervous about like going full hog and saying, "Oh, I'm a Wilyer Abreu guy," because he's shown the flashes but hasn't been able to keep it together. And we'll see what happens here because it is do or die time. The air is breathing because there's going to be playing time very limited for these guys. Yoshida's still on the team when he comes back. Roman Anthony is absolutely knocking on the door. And with you've already got Devers, if you're going to put him as a full-time DH, that's one less slot. What are we going to do? How are we going to arrange this? So he's got to make sure that he makes it a tough decision for the Red Sox. Is he physically capable? Yeah. And we'll see. It's a good start. Right start today. Clutch hitting. It was very impressive. So we'll see where it goes. I'm not sold yet.
If you had Wilyer Abreu in an Otanu points format today, you were very, very happy. In that game also, you had Eovaldi was shoving for the Rangers, 6 innings pitched, 9 Ks. The bullpen kind of let him down. And speaking of the Rangers bullpen, I know a few days ago, whenever Bruce Bochy said that Luke Jackson was going to be the closer, I was just absolutely floored, as I'm sure you guys all were as well. But the first thing that I did was I went on all my fantasy leagues and started looking to see if he was on the wire. And sure enough, I added him in like 5 of my leagues, in my points leagues that I play in. And I'm regretting that decision tonight. In one of my leagues that I checked, he had a minus 24-point outing tonight. Just absolutely brutal for fantasy players and Rangers fans everywhere.
Yeah, that's definitely a rough start to being a closer. You're not going to keep your job much longer. That keeps up.
I think there's a lot of talk about that kid. Church is down there. The Church might take over the closing role. If I had to hang my hat on one of them, I was probably going to hang it on him. But they really have been nervous about it because last year, I mean, they got real lucky and serendipitous in the fact that they got Kirby Yates. They had Yates closing for them last year, and he had probably the best year of his career. I think he pitched like an ERA of like 1.17 or something. And so they let him pass, and now they were just trying to figure it out. I guess they were trying to go internal, but I don't know. Luke Jackson's it's former Brave as well, right?
Yeah, and he was such an adventure sometimes in Atlanta because he would go through stretches where he was great in that 7th, 8th inning role. But man, when he was off, he was off. So like, I don't know if I'd want that guy as my closer if I'm a fan in Arlington this year. So
No, and I
that's going
think
to be
Texas
interesting
has
to
a
follow.
decent
And the rest of that series is going to be interesting, especially with, Christian Campbell made his debut tonight, 1 for 3 and a walk. I believe the single was clocked at like 104-mile-per-hour single. So it's definitely a dude that is really bringing a lot of excitement to Boston.
Yeah, they've got their 2 big studs there in Campbell and Anthony. We expect to see both of them up there. And they moved Teal, right? Teal's over
Yeah,
on the
they
White
traded
Sox
him
now,
to
right?
Red Sox.
Chicago in the Garrett Crochet deal.
Yeah, and that Crochet deal because he was also on part of that. But who did they keep then? Mayer, right? Marcelo Mayer is the
Mhm.
last one of that. Like,
Could you imagine Campbell and Mayer going to be up in the middle of that infield soon?
Yeah, with Trevor's story, he gets hurt all the time. Yeah, it's going to happen sooner rather than
it's going
later.
to happen automatically.
Don't be
It'll just
mean, Peter. I'm just giving you shit.
I mean, listen, I like Trevor's story, and like I don't want him to get hurt, but I mean, it happens every year.
listen, if I had a nickel for every time that I saw a star shortstop come up through the Rockies, set the world on fire for about 5 minutes, sign a big contract somewhere else, and become injured, I'd have 2 nickels because of him and Troy Tulowitzki.
2
Which
nickels.
isn't a lot. It's not a lot of nickels, but it's funny that it's happened twice in my
We got
short
Enzo
lifetime.
More in the house.
Yeah, it's a little
You'd
funny that
have
it
no
happened twice.
dimes.
Because this is a tough one here, man. I mean, I saw it with Troy Tulowitzki, and then Trevor Story set the world on fire and is doing the same thing. I'm like, is this the tribute show to Troy Tulowitzki? Is this what we're gonna do? Troy goes ahead and signs what was it, the Blue Jays, I think, and he couldn't get on the field. And now we've got Story that signed and he can't get on the field. It's a tough one, man. Watching these because Troy
Wasn't it the
Tulowitzki was like
Yankees?
my Troy.
Yeah,
No.
Troy.
No,
Did he
Troy's
end
been
up
in
with
the
the
Yankees.
Yankees at one
Toronto.
point?
He was with the Blue Jays. That's what I'm saying. It's the whole format. Sign a big contract, AL East team, get injured, everyone hates you. And at some point, Trevor Story and Troy Tulowitzki were carrying fantasy teams for a while. It's the
Get those Colorado homers.
absolutely.
He ended his career at the Yankees. I was wrong.
I don't even
No,
remember that.